magic lasted a lot longer than many of us bronies would have ever anticipated, which meant that with all of that support came a lot of memories for us to retain. For a show about magical talking equines, it's certainly left its mark on those who've given it their time, with some of its most powerful, fun and intense moments resonating long after they aired, for better and occasionally for worse. As a result, trying to nail down what has been the biggest and most emblematic of the show's entire run felt like quite an undertaking. Then again, this video wouldn't be here if a decision hadn't been set in concrete, right? The characters grew, we saw their stories unfold, in song and not, and we went along with their journeys until the very end. And at least for me, it's time to state, in fact, what the best moments of this show were. Now obviously this is a very subjective opinion and your tastes may differ, so please don't get too angry at me, and outside of the usual no movie and no Equestria Girls rule, there is only one that this list has to adhere to. I am only choosing one moment per episode, just to ensure that finales and premieres don't hold most of the spotlight. I hope that sounds fair. I have to also include a couple of personal honourable mentions. A changeling can change from the times they are a changeling, Silverstream standing up to the Storm King from What Lies Beneath, Starlight's Nightmare and Daybreaker from A Royal Problem, Granny Smith's Ponyville History Speech from Family Appreciation Day, and lastly but certainly not least, Trixie's bubble-obscured screaming in To Where and Back Again, because seriously, that never gets old. Without further ado, let's find out which moment lived longest and permeated my memory the most. It's going to be a wild ride. Once again, I am kicking off a list with Rainbow Dash. I know, shocking, isn't it? However, this is the only moment of hers that appears on this list, which is quite shocking given just how many individual moments of character development she had over the 9 seasons this show gave to us. However, when you look at all of them, the first one sticks in your mind just a little bit more than the rest. Hating Rainbow Dash out of the gate, given the attitude that she pushed at the viewer, was kind of obvious. Yet little did I realise at the time that Season 1 episode Sonic Rainboom would give such a rounded portrayal of her. She showed weakness, and in the face of the overly confident Rarity, it was the perfect tonic to cascade down the waterfall of alignment equilibrium. The build-up regarding her fabled eponymous secret move was executed masterfully, and the payoff, well, it was dramatic, intense, and extremely rewarding, seeing all the doubters and her friends be left aghast as she not only saved the Wonderbolts, but her vain counterpart was well worth the many minutes of visible anxiety and worry displayed. It gave me hope that this ego-inflated tomboy would eventually grow on me, and while that wasn't technically the case by the show's end, I will always treasure this episode for giving me this. Given how flagrant its usage was instilled ever since, it makes its initial offering much more meaningful and valuable. Sure, the movie's one looked better visually, but it wasn't the ending of a well-placed and executed story of redemption, self-confidence, and proving doubters wrong, was it? The fact that this has resonated so long since the show began and when I first saw it means it had to take a spot here. The others ahead of it, well, they were more shocking, so to speak. Season 9's overarching narrative was built around Grogar and his plan to rule Equestria once again, and having formidable allies like Chrysalis, Cozy Glow and Tirek turn against him was expected given the puzzle pieces that fell into place quite nicely over the entire season's run. So imagine my shock when it turned out that this Gen 1 GOAT turned out to be Discord all along. My mouth was left wide open when I saw it for the first time, and what followed up from it was even more enticing. Not only confirming that Discord, the Lord of Chaos, had set up this insane plan, but it also implied that he'd been working to ensure our heroines never failed on any of their adventures prior to this. While this action had far-reaching consequences, the underlying impact of it took my breath away. If you wanted to make Discord a character who always felt like he'd never become tamed, justify his twisted actions with the best intentions, then you got all you wanted and more from this. While all his work was undone in this two-parter, I can't ignore the fallout that this moment had left. It was a brilliant way to make his character feel important in an episode that many had predicted that he'd be an afterthought in. What a swerve indeed. You know what's more shocking and surprising than seeing Discord be the man pulling the strings in this villainous subplot? It's him faking his own death right in the middle of setting that plan into motion. Yeah, Discord knew how to make the final season's finale and premiere be just a little more unexpectedly fulfilling. Sure, Discord completely ruined the seismic impact that his sacrifice could have had by unveiling his plan in plain sight not long afterwards, but the moment he guarded Fluttershy in the extremely emotional aftermath, it all laid up the climax of the premiere perfectly, all thanks to a move that I never expected this show to take in the first place. They couldn't kill off an immortal being of many millennia, but the fact they even teased it was drama of the highest order, making the stakes of the season ahead very apparent. I might have put it a little higher if, well, it had some permanence, but there's no chance that I'd be removing it entirely. Even after 9 seasons, this show still knew how to pull a few rabbits out of the hat to keep us on the edge of our seats, and I'm thankful this one leapt off the table and ran for the goddamn hills. It was well worth the moments of heart-swelling fright, that's for sure. To be honest with you, sometimes I forget that this is a TVY-rated show, one aimed at kids between the ages of 5 and 10. Because seriously, if an episode can feature a unicorn ruling a town as a totalitarian socialist society, then I have to start reconsidering its rating by proxy. Thankfully, there was no way this show would dare do something so socio-politically motivated again, right? Nah, let's just make the head of the education authority a massive xenophobe and/or racist. Yeah, that's just what this show needed. Wow, this came out of left field, and boy did I love seeing it. Not because I believe in what Chancellor Neighsay says, far from it actually. More that this show actually went there. They knew the older audience of the show were, quote-unquote politically minded, especially given who was in the White House when this aired, and managed to write a character opposing many bronies' values into the show that could be used as a great educational moment for the parents and their offspring. It continued to carry weight into the finale of Season 8 as well, but the utter bemusement at seeing this show manage to pull this off without hesitation was incredibly brave, creating a villain worthy of actually hating in a show full of likeable ones. Not a bad choice, if I say so myself, and they picked the best way to unleash it. The last 2 moments on this list have signified one important thing, and that's that My Little Pony in the modern day can dish out some mature moments that we would never have expected from it many years ago. In fact, many decades ago, if I were to say so myself. The thing is though, when you look at those two, a fake death and a racist rant, those kinds of moments had to have a genesis moment from somewhere in the show's run to highlight their viability. Thankfully, there was just one of those that honestly came so far out of left field that left many in a tailspin. Pinkie Pie is a bubbly and extremely aloof character, so colour me stunned when we saw her go on a dramatic spiral into depression and social isolation. Yeah, are you sure this is a TVY-rated show, guys? Because this kind of moment makes me think otherwise. A moment that was totally unexpected and out of the blue, it showed the facade hidden behind all the smiles, cakes and elaborate parties. A character who hates being ignored, who craves attention, and loves being around others, and as noted by subsequent seasons, seeing them smile. Noting how much the adverse state of affairs had an effect on her was striking and at times quite frightening. Sadly, Party of One undermined its insanely great character development by wiping the slate clean a little too quickly and not treating Pinkie's mental state with enough consideration, which is something that Yakety Sax many seasons later would try to amend. But outside of that, this moment is one that defined that this show wasn't what many anticipated from the title and synopsis of it alone, and that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Twilight Sparkle's ascension to equestrian royalty may have come out of left field and not pleased some, but you cannot deny how big of a moment it was. No, I'm not talking about her coronation at the end of the series. That was built up over many episodes and was expected given the progression of the narrative from way before Season 9. Her first, however, came out of absolutely nowhere. Whilst the process of getting to Twilight's gaining of wings was a bit of a rushed hodgepodge, there was no indication of what would happen once Starswell's spell was fixed. That's a bit of a tongue twister. We were given a lovely song by Celestia of all people amid a collage of Twilight's great moments through the seasons, and then the sudden and stunning realization that, well, the Princess of Friendship had now been anointed. It was such a random thing, but the impact of it was felt for the rest of the series run. The lives of the characters were changed. Ponyville and Equestria itself changed, all stemming from this one moment. And while it may be extremely divisive, no one can deny that it was memorable. It would have made for a perfect end to the show had it concluded in 2013 as was the original plan, but thankfully, it was built upon to where the moment's impact still lingers to this day, for better or for worse. Season 2 had two fantastic villains unveil themselves to us in their premiere and finale, Discord and Chrysalis. Both would define the series as pillars of entertainment in their villainy and, in one case, hilarity. However, if I was going to pick just one of them to have their appearance classed as a memorable moment, then Bug Queen takes the damn cake on that one. The slow build of a Canterlot wedding, implying that Princess Miamore Cadenza wasn't all that she seemed, was fantastically executed. To have her sweep us off her feet into a Disney villainous dueling musical number with her guys' real self was spellbinding. And, well, to have her then put Celestia down and nearly take Canterlot for herself was gripping. Sadly for her and her fans, it wasn't to be, thanks to the Deus Ex Machina to end all Deus Ex Machinas. But regardless, this show didn't build up a villain this good again, even if their efforts weren't all put to waste. For a bad guy to pose a threat and go about it with all the menacing yet aloof whimsy one would expect, but executed in a way that was satisfying and rewarding, not just for the short but long term too? No wonder Chrysalis has so many fans, as this moment is a testament to why. You cannot shy away from a job well done. Most of the moments on this list were chosen because they are unpredictable, in a show that is known for not being that. Because seriously, when you look at this show over its entire 9-season run, there are more moments than not that turn your ear and go, yeah, I could have seen that coming from a mile off. The Sonic Rainboom is one example of that, because it's in the goddamn title. We were going to see it at some point, but at the same time, the build-up made it worth its weight. It was good as a result of that, and it left a lasting impact. So sometimes, you don't have to just throw a massive curveball and see what lands, because the unpredictability can come from just how they make the predictable worth seeing. The same can be stated for the number 3 entrant, because against all logic, it's both predictable and unpredictable at the same time. Then again, that's mostly down to some unique parameters that it found itself in. We all knew that the Cutie Mark Crusaders were going to get their life-changing butt tattoos. The only question was when. Some thought that they would get them in Season 1's The Showstoppers, and I wish they still had, given what that episode had provided. Some thought that they would prolong our suffering and keep us guessing right up until the latter stages of the show's run. Instead, they threw us a curveball and had them gain them randomly, towards the middle end part of Season 5, opening up new possibilities whilst leaving some very sizable questions too. Crusaders of the Lost Mark was a story about the rise, fall and rise again of Diamond Tiara as a character, so to see the CMCs get such a major award for their efforts in helping her was unbelievable. To see all 3 of them get the same Cutie Mark, well, that left me floored. I still contend that that decision was a mistake, but it gave our pint-sized little uns a new lease on life, and, well, they needed it to ensure their presence in the show going forward and that they wouldn't fade away into nothing. Its suddenness, though, left the fandom aghast and celebrating, so I guess its impact wasn't too bad, right? The episode itself, in particular this moment, and the musical accompaniment that followed it, still leaves me feeling all the feels many years later. There aren't many episodes, even in this show, that can say they've done that. Speaking of which, they had to leave it until the final episode to give me the most satisfying of tear duct flowing punches, and boy was it worth it. No matter what you think about the last problems, time skip, the magic of friendship grows was the perfect way to end this show, giving us a look at what had changed in Ponyville and the School of Friendship, seeing characters all grown up, some no longer there and some brand new. It was accompanied with a stripped-back musical flourish that allowed the visuals to speak for themselves as it built to a mightily effective crescendo that left many weeping once the sun set and the book closed. It was a moment that encapsulated why we were so invested in these characters and ensured that we wouldn't be left disappointed. I can't do this song justice by just describing it. However, this song, when listened to out of context, still makes me well up over a year later. And it's easy to see why, with all this fulfilling emotional baggage that it left behind. And the fact that this is number 2 may shock some of you, but when you hear what usurped it, you'll understand. I hope. As we reach the back end, this list has featured unexpected moments of character development, emotional songs, and shocking revelations. However, the number 1 entry is a step above all of them, because if I was to be forced at gunpoint to name a moment that you would never think would be befitting of what My Little Pony represents, this would be Exhibit A moment so epic that it would never be topped, a moment so grand that it could never truly be equalled, even though many tried in the seasons that followed it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to unveil to you what my number 1 moment of Friendship is Magic is. The climactic battles of the many premieres and finales that this show has procured over the years will always resonate in our minds, from the main 6 defeating Nightmare Moon in the opening 2-parter, right down to the final showdown against the villainous trio in Season 9. Outside of 1 or 2, most of them were worth the damn entry fee alone. However, even the final one paled in comparison to one that Season 4 brought to the table. That was something else. Twilight vs Tirek on paper didn't seem like it would be all that interesting. Sure, Celestia, Luna and Cadence gave their Alicorn powers to Twilight, and Tirek became a thick-ass boy, damn! Filled with chaos magic. But no one expected them to go all Dragon Ball Z on us and give us a magic fight of gargantuan proportions. One with Kamehamehas of suitable magnitude to match. It may not have lasted too long, but you had fans of all ages jumping out of their seats at the sights of Twilight and Tirek tearing 7 shades of shit out of each other. It showed how in tune with pop culture the writers were, and how mature this could get if the right ingredients were in place. I mean, once you destroy the home of our main heroine, you know you're going to get a vengeful ass whooping as a result. This is the moment that cemented Season 4 into the minds of many and helped this fandom's popularity reach its apex, whilst giving us the show at its very greatest in elaborate and unexpected storytelling. While I am sad though that the other fights that followed never reached this level of epicness, the fact that we even got this at all should be appreciated. To me, it's the greatest moment in Friendship is Magic's history, not just for the show, but as I've noted, outside it as well. This was the first time that we'd seen on screen that something that had just made us stand up and praise this pastel-coloured magical talking pony show unashamedly for all the awesomeness in animated greatness that it had created. And there's no better impact to be left than that. I have been Freddy Thomas, you've been people watching, this is the CC Network, and I will see you all next time.